Hey New Zealand, this is Nige Rockett from Onslaught, and you're listening to Caleb's Heavy Metal Madness on The Sick Room.
Currently sitting here on the Sick Room with Nige of Onslaught talking about the brand new album VI. I got to say congratulations on this new album, Nige. It's absolutely fantastic.
Thanks, buddy. That's very much appreciated.
The reaction to the album's going to be pretty good so far, I'd imagine. You must be really pleased with how it's come out.
Yeah, I mean, this, to be honest, it's probably been the best response to an album we've ever had from the press. Obviously, you kind of get a little nervous when the mixes go out to the journalists for reviews and stuff. But as soon as they started coming in, it was like, wow, this is fantastic. And then they just keep on coming. So we're really stoked with how things are going. It's amazing.
It's a really powerful album, I must admit. The production is absolutely superb. Tell us about who produced it.
Well, initially we were supposed to be working with Jacob Hansen again, the guy who did the Sounds of Violence album. But schedules weren't matching up, and we had tours, but we really couldn't move the release date. So the label kind of threw a few names at us, and one guy that particularly stood out after we checked out his work was a guy called Thomas Johansson from Sweden. We listened to a lot of his stuff, and everything was really varied, you know. Giving each band their own true identity, you know. A lot of producers tend to stick to the same kind of formulas when they're mixing the bands. We didn't really want to go down that route. We wanted to create our own individual sound, if you like. And when I spoke to Plek about it, he was very much on the same wavelength as we were, and it turned out to be a great decision because he's really pulled out all the stops and made a great sounding album, exactly kind of how we heard it in our heads, you know.
Yeah, definitely. So it must have been a blessing in disguise not getting Jacob Hansen then.
Oh, I mean, there's no disrespect to Jacob. I mean, he did an amazing job on the Sounds of Violence album, but the thing is with Onslaught, if you listen to every album, is radically different from the previous one. So I guess it's kind of worked in our favor in that respect, that we've made a very different sounding album again from the previous one. And maybe that wouldn't have happened if we'd worked with Jacob. It may have sounded a little more like Sounds of Violence. But so yeah, I mean, it's kind of worked out nicely for us. And it was a real pleasure working with Thomas. He was an absolutely great guy and had a lot of good input into the final mixes. You know?
Now you say about the earlier Onslaught albums. From what I can remember, you were influenced by bands like Discharge and GBH, etc. Did you put any of those influences into this new record, or any new influences?
I think you're always going to hear those influences in Onslaught albums somewhere along the line, because it's still my favorite music and still my favorite bands. You know, it's always going to find its way through. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of kind of punky attitude parts on the sixth album, and as I said, it's always going to be there. It's on every album. I guess maybe not so much on the Search of Sanity album, but I think you'll find all those kind of influences in places on the other 5 albums. And it's something I like to put in there, you know, because it's where the band started off, and we do kind of stick to our roots in places, and it's kind of gives us a little bit more of our own individual identity as well.
Just quickly, from what I remember from some of the earlier Onslaught stuff, you guys actually had at one point Steve Grimmett from Grim Reaper and one of the vocalists, I can't remember his name now, from Tony O'Hara of Praying Mantis and The Sweet, more notably, on vocals at one time as well.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, Steve Grimmett was in the band for the In Search of Sanity album, which I mean, Steve's an absolutely fantastic singer. But I guess it never kind of really worked out for Onslaught in a way, because it steered us away from what the band was really all about, and then it was a very polished sounding album. I really like the songs on the album, and I do like what Steve's done with it, but it's not necessarily an Onslaught sounding album, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of it's got a more polished production, and with Steve's vocals on it, it kind of sounds a little bit more mainstream kind of power metal than an all-out sort of heavy thrash album, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I was just going to say,
so we're actually going to re-record that album with Sai.
Wow.
We've done re-recorded Shellshock, one of the tracks off that album, as a bonus track.
Yeah.
On the 6th album. It's turned out really well, and we've had a great response from the fans to it. And they want to hear Sai singing that album now. Obviously, he was originally scheduled to be recording that album, the vocals. Circumstances changed with the label and stuff, and that's when Steve Grimmett came into the band. So that's something we're going to be looking forward to next year. And obviously, as you mentioned, our friend Tony, who's now of the Sweet fame, and actually I did actually go to see the Sweet in Germany about a year ago, which was bizarre. I went to the Champions League final to watch Chelsea and Bayern Munich in Germany, and we stopped off halfway down into Germany. I was driving down, and I see this big concert hall next to the hotel where I was staying. I went into the lobby to check in, and I recognized this voice from somewhere. This dude, I know this guy, and I couldn't see him. It was somewhere just in the crowd of people in the lobby. Like, I turned around, it was only fucking Tony. Like, they were there with the Sweet, and they were playing this show in this venue next to the hotel. So obviously, went and got drunk with all those guys like after the show. You know, it was great. But no, we never actually recorded any stuff with Tony O'Hara. But he was a great fun, man. He's such a lovely guy as well. So it was nice to catch up with him last year. It was a lot of fun.
Now, from what I can also remember from my from researching, Onslaught actually split up in 1990, as did most bands during that period. The record labels sort of seemed to keep reissuing the earlier albums to fill the void, I guess, of no forthcoming material. Power from Hell and The Force began to stir up nostalgic emotions with the old fans, plus garnering new respect from fans. In your opinion, if these reissues didn't happen, would Onslaught have ever been active again?
No, definitely not. I mean, that they were the sole reason that we actually got back together. You know, I mean, as far as I can remember, as you say, we split at that time, and then I think they got kind of re-released in 2002, something like that, which we never knew nothing about at all. Nobody had told us we were. I mean, the interest wasn't there for us as musicians with Onslaught at that time. It was something we didn't think about. So I guess we weren't really touching base with the metal kind of community at that time. And, I don't know how it came about, really. I mean, something came up, and we were told, I think in late 2004, that the albums had been re-released a couple of years. So we obviously looked into the situation, found out they'd been selling really, really well. And then obviously you sort of you kind of get a bit more interested, and you want to dig a little deeper, you know, and see what's really going on. So you start looking into the metal sites and the forums, and then you see people talking about your band again. You know, it's kind of weird after such a long layoff, and it's kind of exciting. And then I guess it got all the interest and the expectations coming back, and it was like, what if we'd have done this? What if we'd have done that? You know, maybe we can do this, and then everything built from there, really. And in particularly because of the way the band ended first time around with the In Search of Sanity album and the problems with the label, it always kind of left us with a sense of unfinished business, you know, something we want to put things right where everything went wrong, and maybe make the album that In Search of Sanity should have been. So it kind of, we had all these opportunities being sort of bounded at us again, and having the chance to put right all those wrongs. So I guess that's what we did, and yeah, definitely. If those reissues would have not come along, we'd have never been back together.
Say that not only has this major break been a factor to take in consideration, but the constant lineup changes seem to have unfortunately plagued your career with Onslaught. But the band these days still consists of yourself, founding member, and side taking on lead vocal duties again. I think Keeler was the singer on the 4 albums as well, starting off in the Force back in 1986. The lineup is then completed with a different lineup even in this year. So what can you tell us about the new lineup, and how did you come into finding these new members?
Yeah, it's always been kind of frustrating, you know. But I mean, these things happen in bands, and it's something you've got to face and move on in the best way you can. And the way we've always looked at it, when you have a lineup change, you try to improve the lineup, you know. And we've been fortunate enough to be able to do that every time. Bringing to this lineup now, which is most definitely the best lineup this band has ever had, for sure. We've got a great drummer in the band, Michael Hourihan, who's played in Extreme Noise Terror and Desecration and stuff, and he's come from a kind of more death metal side of things, but he's such an amazing drummer, and it's added some different flavors to Onslaught, you know, and definitely made it more aggressive, and he's able to interpret our ideas a lot better, you know. Just whatever we throw at him, however crazy the riffs are or whatever, he can find something and equally match it. He's just so good, and he just makes it look so easy, you know. It's fantastic. And Cy's just singing better than he ever has done, right? So I mean, we're really happy with the lineup, and I think the press have kind of backed our feelings on it, saying this is the best Onslaught lineup, best Onslaught album. So we're really happy with where things are at the moment. So, very cool.
Talking about the style of music that Onslaught plays, the aggression in thrash music has always been associated with a youthful attitude. You guys are obviously not teenagers anymore, so where does that inspiration come from, that you're still able to make this kind of album in today's trend-driven rock and metal world?
Oh, yeah. Just a pretty angry guy, you know. there's a lot to make you angry in this fucking world. So, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, we had a long layoff as well. We had kind of 12 years layoff, and you go through a lot of experiences, and to come back and get a second chance, as we did, you kind of take it full on, you know. And in a way, like this is maybe kind of our 3rd album yet again, even though it's our 6th. It maybe kind of feels like the 3rd album, because it's been 3 albums since we've been back together, and it's I don't know, it just, everything feels so fresh and really exciting about the band, you know. It's like we've been only going for 7 or 8 years again, and I don't know, we just got so much energy for it. I mean, the shows are, we're giving it to the crowd, and the crowd are giving it back to us, and it's a vicious circle of energy, you know. And we feed off that. And as I said, there's so much shit going on in this world at the moment. There's nothing. You're certainly not going to be short of stuff that makes you angry to write about. So no, we're definitely not going to mellow. And I know for sure the follow-up album to this new one is going to be a next step up on aggression again, because having Mike in the band now, he's kind of realizing where we're going. He's learning his way around Onslaught more, so he's going to have a lot more input again into the next album, which is going to be great for us as well. So.
Yeah, definitely. Now, which brings me on, as the guitarist in the band, what have you done on this album to keep it fresh and keep it in essence with what you've done in the past albums?
Pushed ourselves to the limits, really. This was really tough. There's some real tough stuff guitar-wise on this album to play. And it was kind of what we said at the beginning when me and Andy started to write this record, that we wanted to make a harder, more aggressive, better album than Sounds of Violence was, which meant pushing everybody to the limit: drummer, guitarist, bass player, vocals, everything. So I mean, we were kind of, when we were writing it, it was real tough shit to play, and we were having to go back over and over and over to really sort of nail our chops down on the guitar parts. And I think you can hear us having Mike Hourihan in the band has allowed us to be more intricate and a little more technical than we have on previous albums. And obviously that applies to the guitars as well in particular. So yeah, I mean, it's just an overall busier album, I think, in terms of technicality for everyone. And it was a bitch to record for sure, but we got there in the end, and I'm so pleased with the way it's turned out. It was tough.
Now, what sort of gear did you actually use for the album? What sort of setup did you have?
I used the same guitars since 1986. I play Charvel Jackson guitars, the American ones, and I'm still using them now with Seymour Duncan custom pickups. In the studio, we went through, I think we had 2 Engel 4x12s. We used 2 amp heads. We used a modified triple rectifier, Messabugi, and a modified Engel Fireball. And we mixed the two. No pedals, nothing, just clean straight into the amps, and that was it. And it sounded absolutely amazing. We wanted, because of the intricate parts on some of the guitar bits, we needed a kind of cleaner sound, but at the same time it had to be really cutting and aggressive, especially in the mid-range. So with those amps, they really matched really nicely and gave us this really kind of thick but clear, aggressive tone, you know. And yeah, it was absolutely amazing. And it was 2 stock amps that Thomas had in the studio, and he wanted to try. I remember what he had a Marshall he wanted to try. I said, no, I really don't like the tones on the Marshall stuff. So, but he said, well, let's try this Mesa. And obviously, I'm an Engel endorsee anyway, so obviously I was really wanted to use the Fireball on there because they sound fantastic. But when he put the Mesa in, it sounded out of this world. So I said, look, let's mix the two, and that's what we did. You know, it was stunning. It sounded really cool.
Now, so as the band's career sort of seems to move on, the comparisons keep coming up with past albums. For a band like yours, for example, which has been around for quite a long time, what do you think's the biggest challenge when you go to write new music? What to keep up with what you've done in the past?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's my philosophy on making a new record. It's got to be better than your last one, because for me, if you can't better your last album, I don't see the point of releasing it. You know? See so many people saying, "Oh, well, our last couple of albums haven't been that great." Well, why'd you release them then? Don't release them. Simple as that. Yeah. I mean, we go in there and we will sit down and we will work over and over on riffs. And if it's not good enough, we just throw it away. We're not a band who would go and write 14 songs and choose 10. Yeah. We go in and we will write 8 songs and that's it. We've always had that way of working, and we've never had any overspill of songs, and that's the way we continue. If it's not good enough, we just throw it away. Simple as that. So yeah, I mean, we always go in with the attitude that we're going to write a better album than the last one. And I think, in my personal opinion, the fans and the press seem to agree with it. But we've been doing that on the last 3 albums in particular, Killing Peace, The Sounds of Violence, to 6. We've improved on every album. So
definitely.
Hopefully we're doing something right. But it's going to be a tough one to top, this next one. I think it's going to be really hard. But I'm sure we're going to give it a good shot.
Now, let's talk a little bit more about the album VI, which was released on AFM Records. As mentioned, one of the formats for VI will include a bonus track in the shape of a re-recorded version of Shellshock from the album 89, from the 1989 album Search of Sanity. And I think even I don't know if this is true or not. There's going to be a Japan bonus, Metal Forces, one of the tracks apparently.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, for some reason the Japanese always insist on having something extra, you know, which is kind of a little unfair, I think, on the rest of the world, you know. But we've always got to give give something different, you know. And this time we decided to do a re-recorded Metal Forces just for a bit of fun, just to bring it up to date a little bit, you know, with the sound. Because obviously it's one of the more classic tracks off the Force album. It was just nice to go and re-record it once again with Mike playing drums and just give it a kind of little bit of fresh air, you know. I don't know, I haven't seen it online too much at all, actually. I don't know if it's managed to filter back over to Europe and the rest of the world, but it does sound good. I was really pleased with the way it's come out. So yeah, I mean, it was a bit of fun.
It makes an interesting change from doing covers when you re-release tracks instead of doing a cover on a new album.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously done the Bomber thing with the last album, so we wanted to avoid doing a cover again. The Shellshock thing was really important for us to do because, as I said, a lot of people want to hear Cy singing that album or singing tracks off that album. And that was kind of a special thing for us to do and for Cy as well, you know, because he obviously wants the world to hear him singing what technically was his album to be singing on.
Yeah, definitely.
We've obviously got the kind of feeling that we want the world to hear how that album should have sounded, you know, with Cy singing and a more aggressive sound. So that's the reason why we did that, and the response to it has been so good that we're going to re-record the whole thing sometime when we've got a little bit of downtime next year, and make everybody happy and make me happy to hear that album in the way it should have been. Cy's going to be able to moon because he's got it in his CV now, singing on it, and of course the fans want to hear it as well. So it's an all-win situation on that one, I think.
Continuing on with the album VI, I gotta say, Nige, it's an absolute effort and endurance listening all the way through. There's 9 tracks on the album. What can you tell us about what some of these tracks mean to you? Was there a concept behind this album, or did you just write tracks for what they were?
I would just right from how they are. I mean, there is a recurring thing through the album of a lot of hatred and violence, you know. And that's what we write about. We try to do it in some different ways, but there are some special tracks on there with a lot of kind of personal meanings to the band, you know, and particularly Slaughter-Eyes and Children of the Sand, because of the inspiration where that's come from, you know. There's some guys that's fighting out in Afghanistan who have named their battalion after the band, Onslaught. And we've seen some footage actually on TV on one of some program about war machines, and they've got the Onslaught logo outside their tent, you know. Wow. It's quite a big logo, and they operate all these rocket launchers. And one of the guys was a huge Onslaught fan. He was writing back and sort of sending back lots of thoughts about what actually goes on over there, you know. It was kind of scary, and it's kind of stuff you'd never hear from the mainstream media and stuff. And he said, feel free to use anything for whatever you like, if it inspires you to write some lyrics for songs and blah blah blah. And that's exactly what I did. And he sent some incredible descriptive stuff over, and I really got deeply into it and based the lyrics of those 2 songs around what he'd sent over, you know. And we really felt that we had to do those songs justice because of where it come from, and that's part of the reason why we sort of took Children of the Sand to the extreme levels with the female vocals and the real strings, just to make it authentic in its sound, you know. We really wanted to paint the picture of darkness and the sort of Middle East, you know. That was what we've done. So yeah, those 2 songs in particular have a kind of special meaning to it.
You guys sort of seem to kind of have a little bit of a satanic reference to some of these songs. For example, 666 and Crucifixion. Is that kind of what that was about? Like the whole Satan sort of idealism? Is that what you guys sort of enjoy writing about as well, or was it just to keep the fans happy that like that sort of that sort of lyrical concept from back of the older stuff that you guys used to write?
Not really. I mean, I've always I hate religion. It's one of my biggest hates. It goes back to when I was a young kid, where all that's been kicked off. Come from kind of partly religious family, and I was kind of forced into church and stuff when I was a kid, and I really despised it. So that's kind of where that angles came from within me, with the crucifixion thing and stuff. 666 is a little bit more like you said. It keeps in with the old history of the band, but it's kind of tongue in cheek because the song was actually inspired by a review we received on Amazon US. Because obviously anybody can go out there and review under the album sales, and this guy come on. He's obviously a Christian guy. He'd come on and decided to review the Sounds of Violence album. Basically, I think he wrote about 5 lines, and it was probably the best review that anybody's ever given us. He came on and said, this band is no good for you, basically. It's everything bad. There's war, hatred, death, violence. And basically, they play the devil's music. So it's kind of where that's come from on that song. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek and a bit of fun, and it's sort of all based around this kind of review,
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah.
No.
But the crucifixion thing is all very, very serious, and as you'll see on a lot of the past Onslaught albums, they kind of anti-religious stuff all stems from what I was saying earlier.
We haven't touched base on Onslaught's live performances yet. We've only got a couple of questions there because we don't want to take up too much more of your time, as said. But Onslaught Live, you guys recently did a tour with Master and Empire of Evil, the ex-Venom guys. How was that tour for you? What can you share about some of your experiences on that tour?
Yeah. I don't know if Paul mentioned, but we had a very bad driver. He wasn't very good. He nearly took us over the edge of a cliff one night, so that wasn't great. But in general, the tour was very cool. I mean, we had some really good shows. I mean, it was 20 people on a bus. It's just not a lot of private space, but I don't know how some of the other guys cope with it, but I mean we've done kind of 5 or 6 of these tours in recent years now, so we're very much used to that kind of environment, and we know how to handle it. So I don't know how Paul and the Master guys did. I don't know. I mean, they seem to enjoy themselves and eat and sleep and drink a lot. So, but no, I mean it was a good tour for us. I mean, to go out and you could see as the tour was going on. I think the new album had been out 2 weeks before we'd started the tour, and the tour was basically about a month long. So at the end, you could see the people were kind of just getting into the new songs. And by the end of the tour, the shows at the end, the responses to songs, particularly like 666 was incredible. It was one of the best responses for the songs in the set that we were getting, because obviously people had known the album now for 6 weeks and really getting into it. So the longer the tour went on, the better the new songs went, which was fantastic. So
definitely cool.
Yeah, I mean, we just can't wait to get back out again. We've got another European tour offered for April next year, which we're discussing now, and we're off to South America in January, February. So yeah, I mean, we just love touring. That's what the band's about. Work as hard as we can and get as much exposure out there as possible.
And how does it make you feel now that you've reached audiences as far as Australia and even New Zealand?
I mean, that's the ultimate thing. I mean, the Australians and New Zealand are the next places on the list to try and get to. I mean, we've covered a lot of the world now. We've South America, Japan, Singapore, all those countries there. So I think that Russia and there's China and Australia and New Zealand is next on the list. So it's very important that we get to those places, because obviously we've got fans there and we want to come and show what we can do.
Yeah, definitely cool. Now, down to the last couple of questions for the interview. In 50 words or less, describe the ultimate Onslaught concert.
Oh. Hot, sweaty, violent, aggressive, a lot of fun. That's for sure.
Now, with the album VI, what can, in your own words, how would you explain to the listeners of the fan what they can expect from this album if they've not heard it yet?
Again, is pretty much as the live show says. it's aggressive. It's very old school, but it's very modern at the same time. It's probably, I would say, it's our best album we've made in our career. I think if you're a fan of the Force album, you're going to like this. I think if you're a fan of Kill in Peace, you're going to like this album.
Definitely.
So give it a chance, and I hope you won't be disappointed. If you like dark, aggressive thrash music, then Six album is definitely for you.
Definitely cool. Now, this is a question I like to ask all of my guests here on the Sick Room. How would you describe your entire career with Onslaught in one word? Amazing. Well, we're going to say, Nige, thanks for taking the time to do this interview. It's been an absolute blast having you here on the show, and all the best for future tours and for future sales of the album VI. We'll definitely blast it down here in New Zealand as much as we possibly can, and we look forward to hearing more from Onslaught. Do you have any final words for your fans down in this part of the world, or just generally listening to the interview?
Yeah, I just like to send out a massive thanks to everyone, including yourself, for the support that you've given us over the years. Because if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't have been around to make this new album, and we wouldn't be around to make the next one. If it wasn't for you guys, you're everything to the band. And that's we want to come down and play for you guys and hang out and meet all the fans down there, and that's what we intend to do. I'm sure it's going to happen. We're going to make it happen. So thank you all very much.